Hello everyone, my name is Saksham Dikshit and this is my channel Parent Diaries. So today I'll make another video on the same series of Solidity programming series, and in this I'll try to cover the concept which we call it as, which we have discussed earlier also, and there is a little bit twist, and with the extension of it I'll try to explain you. So the topic is passing parameter to parent constructor in multiple inheritance. So what exactly it means, everything I try to cover in this video itself. We'll start with the theory part and then go to the practical section. Basically through the practical section only you will be able to understand how exactly the things going on and what are the different type of things we'll try to get it achieve it, how we passing the parameters, everything we'll try to get it understand only through the practical itself. So theory part I'll just cover up a little bit, and then we'll go to the practical section, just see with the code itself, try to get it analyzed what exactly we try to get it achieve with this. Okay. So if we start with the theory part itself. So in case of theory part, in Solidity, when dealing with multiple inheritance, you can pass parameter to parent constructor by specifying them in derived contract, constructor, contracts, constructor, and explicitly calling the constructors of the parent contract. So in this case itself, like we are talking about, like earlier we have a concept, like we heard about it, like there is a base contract, there is a derived contract. So inside of that, if we have a constructor over there itself, how we passing the parameters from one constructor to another itself, that we're trying to get it achieve over here. So we'll try to understand that first, and then we'll see what are the different ways by which we can get it achieve that. So there is a way by which we simply have to initialize at the time of the contract assigning it, like at the time of the inheritance of the contract to another contract itself, like from the base contract to the derived contract. At the time, instead of the constructor also, we can define it a value itself, whatever the value we just want to get it passed. These are the two fixed section for it which we have discussed about it. Other than that, there is a dynamic one where we can transfer the value, just giving an input from our side, and then we try to get it passed. Other than that, there's a concept where we want a one contractor which we want to get it derived. We want that to be a static one, a fixed one, and then another contract which we in the same contract. Take example, there is B is I can say that D is a derived contract and A and B is a base contract. So for A contract and the B contract, if I wanted A contract, the values should be fixed one, and in case of B contract the value will be dynamic. Then in that case, how can I achieve that? That's also one of the thing. And in case we want everything to be a dynamic, like take example, D is a derived contract and A and B are a base contract, then in that case how we achieve like giving a dynamic value to the A and the B constructor itself of the contract, how we achieve that, that's I'll try to get it covered in this video itself. So now we'll go to the practical section just to see the code itself and able to understand how exactly the things going on. Okay, let me go to the system now, explaining about that section. So proceeding further with the practical section for it. So I have prepared this code for it, and we are using 4 constructor inside of it. Okay, so don't be worried about it. I'll explain you each and every section for it and what exactly we'll try to get it achieved with this. So everything I'll try to get it explain you about it. Don't worry about that section. We'll start with one contract itself. So this is a straightforward sentence which we are defining in all our contract. We are starting with this contract name is con A. That's one of the thing. Now over here itself, we are defining 2 state variable. One is a string public name, and the unsigned integer public name itself. Public age itself, we are defining 2 state variables over here. Now we are defining one of the constructor over here itself. So what we are doing, we are trying to pass 2 values, a name which we call it as a name underscore name and underscore age, and in this we can see name equal to underscore name. Whatever the parameter we are trying to get it passed, giving as an input itself, we are trying to pass name underscore name and age equal to underscore age. So this is one of the contract which we are defining it. Now we're proceeding further to the another contract. Over here also, only that the variable name is get changed. Other than that, everything looks like similar only. So we are using subject as a string public, and other than that unsigned integer, make it public, and the variable name is grade. Now we're trying to pass the value for the subject and the grade also, and over here itself subject is equal to underscore subject and the grade is equal to underscore grade. These are the 2 contract which we are defining as initial one itself, and which we call it as a base contract. Okay, remember that. I think if you have attended that previous video of the multi inheritance, at the time you are able to understand like what exactly the difference between a base contract and what is the difference between a derived one. There's a difference between a base contract and there's a difference between a I can call it as a derived contract. So what exactly the functionality of it, why we are defining two type of contracts here. So that's I've already explained the multi inheritance video itself. Just go through it first if you're not able to understand this concept right away over here itself. I'm not giving much description about it once again. I'm just using it in an advanced stage itself over here. Okay, once we're done with two contracts itself, we are proceeding further for the third contract, which we call it as a con C. And over here itself, con A, we are trying to pass two type of values itself. So what exactly, which I have explained in the theory section, like there is a possibility we can pass at the time of deriving the contract, we can define the value as a fixed one. So that is the concept which I am discussing about it. So over here itself, we simply have to define the value. And that value we can define it over here itself for the contract A. We are giving itself from our side what exactly the value we want to get it populated over there. So it's automatically get populated. We are giving as a fixed value from our side at the time of initiation of it. Okay, so it's giving inside of the constructor, it's going and it's get it populated directly over there itself. So we are defining the value from our side instead of going inside of that and give it a value from our side. That we're doing in the later phase itself. But right now this is a contract which we are defining, where we are defining for the base contract whatever the construct we are using, parent constructor we are using it, in that whatever the value we're trying to get it passed, that value we are defining at the time of in the derived contract, so that the base contract having constructor value already inbuilt inside of the derived contract. Now proceeding further to the next section for it, over here itself there is a little bit tweak over here itself. Instead of defining it over here itself, we are defining instead of the constructor. So this is another concept, but it's a fixed value over there itself. Like instead of defining any dynamic, we are giving a fixed value, but it's inside of the constructor. Like instead of the contract, I can say that we are defining instead of the constructor, we are defining the value itself or the fixed one, and that value is going to the parent constructor which we are using instead of the base contract itself. So that's also one of the concept over here itself. You can see that's formatting, and the values we are defining over here itself, that's get reflected over there itself. Now we go to the next contract, which we call it as a con E. In this I am using a different type of concept which we call it as a dynamic one, which I have discussed in the theory section also. So in case of dynamic, we can give it a value from our side. So we are giving a value from our side itself, like whatever the value we just want to pass to the base contract from the derived one, we can do that over here. So as a dynamic one, like instead of giving a fixed value, we can give it at the time of deployment. We can provide the value in the constructor so that it's get reflected in the parent constructor itself of the base contract. So that is the thing we try to get achieve over here itself. That is the thing. Other than that, we are defining one more parameter over here itself, that we call it as a string, and we have given this as a local variable. We are defining over here itself as a string memory underscore a, and we are defining a equal to underscore a. So whatever the value of a string type we are trying to get it passed, we are getting this value over here itself. Okay. Now if I'm talking about the last section, where I wanted both the combination, I want a dynamic value also to be get it passed from my constructor, and even I wanted that value to be a fixed one. Both the things I wanted at the same time in a same contract. So in a derived contract, what we want that the request is going to the base contract, but in one case the constructor is forwarding the request as a fixed one to a parent constructor of the base contract, and the another one we are providing a dynamic values from our side which is going to the base contract for the parent constructor. That is the thing we try to get achieve over here itself. So dynamic, fixed, everything I'll try to get achieved over here itself. So last one is, in both the cases we are trying how exactly we are achieving a fixed and a dynamic, that I'll try to get it covered in this section for it. Now let me deploy this contract one by one, and then I'll just try to get it explain you about it, how exactly things going on further with that. Let me compile this code. It's working fine. Now let me deploy this. So as we can see, contract A, we are defining a con A is the name of it. So over here itself we have to pass the value. So first is the name and another one is the age. So I'll define it a name as Sam and the age is 21. Let me deploy this. Once I'll deploy this, I can able to see this value. If I'll try to see the value of age, I can able to see 21. If I'll try to see the value of name, and that is I can able to see the value of the name is Sam itself. Okay, this is contract A. Now let me try to call contract B, and in this also I have to pass two values, the subject and the grade. So I'll take a subject as English and the grade is, I'll define it as 67. Let me deploy this. Once I'll deploy that, I can able to see there are this contract con B is getting deployed, and now if I'll try to see the value of grade, I can able to see it's 67. If I'll try to see the value of subject, it's English, which we have already passed. Now the base contract is completed. Now we go to the derived contract now. So we start with con C. If I'll try to deploy the con C, where we do not require any value to be get it passed, I don't want any value to be passed, so I'll simply have to click on deploy. Once we deploy that, you can see like if I'll click on age, grade, name, subject, everything is getting passed over here itself. Okay, you can able to see the whole structure for it, which we have defined it. Now if I'll talk about the next section for it, which we call it as a grade con D. In con D, what are the things we are doing it? We are defining as a static but fixed value inside of the constructor itself for the parent constructor. So now over here itself also we are not passing any value, as we are deriving it directly. So we simply have to click on deploy it and go to this section, and I'll try to see the value of age, grade, name, subject. I can able to see the values which we have defining over here itself. In the previous one also we can see the value which we have defined it. Now if I'll go to the next section, and if I'll see that E1 over here itself, I have to pass the value, as I have to make is as a dynamic one. I have to pass the value for the constructor itself, so that it's get deployed at the time of the deployment. We have to pass the value. So let me make this value, and I'll have to put that define the value for it. So the name is Sam, age I'll have to define it as 21, subject I have to define it as English, anything I can put it from my side. And if I'll have to pass grade as 68, I'll just change it, and over here itself I'll define it as Mohan, and let me click on transact. Once we click on transact, this will be get it deployed, the contract E will get it deployed, and if I try to see the value, it's Mohan, age, grade, name, and subject, everything I can able to see that over here itself. Okay, so that is a concept for the contract E. If I'll talk about the last one, which we have talking about the where we have a dynamic and the static both, then in that case what we have to do, I'll simply have to select F, and over here itself I'll simply have to pass the value only for the one, not for the both. Okay, so what we have to do, we simply have to pass the value for the subject. So subject I'll just make it as math, and the grade I am defining it as 45. I'm just reducing the value. Okay, let me click on transact. Once we click on transact, I'll simply have to go to conf, and these are the static value which we can see it over here itself. So the age is 21 and the name is Sam, which we have defined as a static one, fixed one. Now if I'm talking about the next one, where we are giving a dynamic value from our side, then in that case, in case of grade I have defined it 45, and in case of subject I have defined as a math itself. So that is the thing about it. Okay, and one more concept which I just want to tell you about it, like at the time, like it doesn't matter like whatever that formatting you're using it. So taking example, if I'm consider this as a derived contract itself, so make sure like instead of like if anyone asks you about it, like what are the base contract and what exactly the derived one, so always having a thought like whatever we are defining in this section for it, that is considered as a base one. So over here itself it's going from the left to the right. So contract A is taking as a first value, and the contract B is get it second, and then after that the contract C is coming in the figure, in the picture itself. If I'm talking about the same one, it's contract A, contract B, and contract D. Now if I'll talk about this contract A, contract B, and contract E, if I'll try to change the value over here itself, then only the things will be get it changed, and we are seeing that formatting after that. Otherwise over here itself, if you're trying to change anything, like if I'll try to change over here itself, like if I'll make con B first and con A second, then in that case nothing will be getting impacted inside of the constructor itself. But if I'll changing over here itself, then in that case the formatting get changed, and contract B having a preference first and the contract A having a preference second after the contract B itself. So that's also one of the things which you have to be remember about it, as per the need itself, which we have to give it the preference as accordingly. So I'll give it a summary once again before we are concluding this video. So the thing is that what exactly we're trying to achieve in this itself, like there are three ways by which we can define it or inherit the value inside of the constructor, parent constructor itself. So the first thing, either we are defining inside of the constructor itself at the time of initiation in the derived one, and that we are deriving it, making it derive the value for the constructor, and that will call the base contract, and instead of that the parent constructor will be getting utilized. The value will be passing from the derived contract, but it's getting utilized at the side of the base contract instead of the constructor, parent constructor itself. But if I'm talking about the another one, we can define instead of the derived contract also inside of the contract, and we are defining in along with the constructor itself, and that is also the same thing which we are achieving it, like we'll simply have to pass that to the base contract, and after that by that way we are utilizing those values to be getting passed directly to the base contract itself, I can say that. And inside of that parent constructor, we are utilizing the same value which we are initiating inside of the constructor of the derived contract. If I'm talking about the last one, which we having a dynamic one, where we can pass the value instead of the derived contract for the base contract, and that values which we are passing is a dynamic one, it's going to the base contract, and then after that instead of that parent constructor can utilize that. So that is the thing. Even we can do the fixed and the dynamic one also, a combination for which we have discussed and even seen the code also. Okay, so that's all about the stuff which I want to get it covered in this video. So I hope you like this video. This is a long video, but the thing is that I just want to get it explaining about the whole concept for it. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel. Thank you so much once again. Take care. Bye bye.